Good morning, everybody, and thanks for being here with us as you are entering in the room. Just to give you some tips about how it will work, we have a lot of speakers this morning, so please, I ask all the panelists to pay attention to the timing of their intervention. To the public, you can use your question and answer button for if you want to have question to some of the panelists. You can also use the chat, but if the questions is better if you use the Q&A button, please. And we will have some presentations from the ambassador at the beginning, then some companies, and then we have a very crowded discussion panel with a lot of professionals of all the sector, all the actors involved in this sector. So please, then I remember to all of you that you can enter in contact with Andersen professionals for the meetings that will follow this conference. So you already received everything by email, and they work very hard and very well. So that's great. I think that people is entering, but we can start as we are 5 minutes late. Good morning again to everybody. I would like to thank, first of all, Andersen for Europe and Andersen Africa for this conference and for this program, because the bridge Europe-Africa program is really, really interesting. And I think that what we are doing today is a sort of practical demonstration of the potential that this program has. So I don't want to speak too much, and I give the floor to Olaleye Adebi, that is Regional Managing Partner for Africa of Andersen. So Olaleye, please, just to you and Andrea De Vecchi, that is a Regional Managing Partner for Europe. The floor is yours. Olaleye.
Good morning, all, and I wish a warm welcome to all of you to our first cycle of webinars on the Crossing the Europe-African Bridge, which is mainly for the sustainable development of businesses. My name is Olaleye Adebi. I'm the co-regional managing partner for Africa, together with my colleague from South Africa, Derek Kaufman, who is on this conference. But before I even say anything, let me say a special thank you to our Italian colleagues who have done so much to make this conference possible, and also the non-colleague like Massimo, there's Andrea De Vecchi, Alessandro, and so many people I can't mention from the Italian group who has actually spent so much endless nights making this thing happen. And also my colleague from Africa, especially Keisha and the other people from Zambia. So I welcome all of you who are going to be speaking today, the panelists, the discussants, and those who are giving some topics, but most especially I need to have a special mention of the ambassadors who have accepted to be present at this renewable energy conference. This is the first in the series of the conference we are going to hold later in the year. I will start from Her Eminence Nosifo Noscar John Nkaba, the ambassador of South Africa to Italy. His Eminence Albertus Auchamo, ambassador of Namibia in Italy. His Eminence Paulo Cuccioli, the ambassador of Italy in South Africa and Namibia. His Eminence Joseph Katema, ambassador of Zambia in Italy. His Eminence Antonio Maggiore, ambassador of Italy in Zambia. We welcome all of you and actually appreciate your time for finding time to be present on this first conference. We are going to have more conferences like this in the year dedicated to some regions in Africa. And I welcome all of you and thank you all for finding the time to participate in this conference. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. And I would like to invite to open the mic and give a welcome speech also to Andrea De Vecchi, that is the Regional Managing Partner for Europe of Andersen. Andrea, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Massimo. Good morning, everybody. I join my friend Leia in welcoming you to this conference, the first one of the cycle. I'm Andrea De Vecchi, and I'm Regional Managing Partner for Andersen in Europe, together with our Swiss partner, Paolo Mundia. In today's gathering, we will focus on renewable energy. This industry is increasing, and its increasing use are one of the I would say the highest priorities by now set forth by the policies of most countries. And for this reason, we're proud to welcome all companies, funds, trade associations, and training institutions involved in renewables. The case studies analyzed today will be Enel Green Power, Enertronica Santerno, Moshe's Partner Fund Management, and Shreni School for Business. We planned this cycle of conferences because in 2019, together with Leia, Alessandro, and our Andersen partners here, we launched the Bridge Africa-Europe project that aims to support sustainable business throughout the two continents. And it has been a constant collaboration since then. The webinar is part of our commitment in matching opportunities and needs compliant to the United Nations goals of the Agenda to End 2030. The Bridge Africa-Europe project is therefore dedicated to encourage change makers in today's volatile and complex global business landscape. In this framework, we assist entrepreneurs, companies, and institutions that drive and promote sustainable change in the world. So before we get started, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all the Andersen firms who generously helped make this event possible. Andersen Global is an international association of tax firms and law firms established in 2013. It counts more than 265 offices with 7,000 professionals in all continents, and Africa is particularly covered. I don't want to take too much of your time, and they therefore pass the floor to Massimo Zaurini, also thanking the specialized magazine Africa Affari, our media partner in this cycle of conferences. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you. I think we can start now with the first session, that is with all the ambassadors. We have ambassador of Namibia in Italy, the ambassador of Italy in South Africa and Namibia, the ambassador of Zambia in Italy, the ambassador of Italy in Zambia, and the ambassador of South Africa in Italy. So we will try to, I will start with ambassador of Namibia in Italy, His Excellency Albertus Auchamub. Please, if you can open the mic, and we will have this kind of, as I wrote you in an email yesterday, we'll try to have this session a little bit interactive. So 1 or 2 questions. Ambassador, Namibia is a country that in the last years has pushed very much with renewables. I was having a look to the change in the electricity capacity of your country with renewable, and I found very impressive data. How much renewables are becoming important in your national energy strategy?
Thank you, Massimo, and thanks everybody for the opportunity to be with you this morning. This is a very important question, and you should probably understand where Namibia comes into this from a much more broader and constitutional perspective. Our constitution makes provision when we became a republic, independent 31 years ago. We have at the core of our national policy and into the constitution drafted provisions that protect the environment. So environmental protection and conservation are at the core of everything we do. And deriving from that, we also know that Namibia has the longest sun days than most countries in the world. We know that we have some of the best wind speeds in the south around Lüderitz. And so both from a legislative perspective in the policy framework, but also from the natural endowment perspective, we put renewables at the core of everything we do as far as energy generation is concerned. And that's why you would have seen that over the last 4 years or so, we have had an accelerated push towards renewables because we have the natural advantage that we want to take, we want to deploy in our energy mix. So you will also see that about 80% of all of the new projects that would come off stream would be comprised of renewables in whichever form investors would like to engage. Your microphone is off, Massimo.
I'm the one that should help in this. So thank you very much, Ambassador. Thank you very much. And no, I was really impressed, for example, in the capacity change for the solar, your country recorded between in the last 5 years, going to 2014, 2019, a 700% change, increase. And with the wind factor, with the wind system, you have a 2000% increase and change. So it's really, it seems really that Namibia is going through this with all its strength. And which kind of space do you think that there is still in your country for European companies, Italian companies, but broad European international companies?
There is a lot of scope. Broadly, you're right in respect of the pace at which we have accelerated integration of renewables into our energy mix. But what's also important is to note that barely a few years ago, in 2016, the total installed capacity of the country was only 400 megawatts. That was in 2016. And that's the entire mix. By last year, 2020, we've accelerated that to 624 megawatts. And that tells you that we walk the talk. And as I said again at the beginning, bulk of that, and to your point, would have come from renewables. What is the projections going forward? At the present, we have 624 megawatts. That's a 2020 figure. By 2025, over the next 4 years, we hope to increase that installed capacity to 879 megawatts. And again, most of that's going to come from renewables. And so the possibilities for Italian investors into this space are tremendous, both as independent power producers, because our policy framework makes provision for that, but also in the public-private partnership space. That's a huge possibility, especially on the much larger wind and solar photovoltaic projects. But the one that we have as of this year began to look at, and we will be formulating appropriate policy frameworks around that to make it predictable and possible for investors to consider, would be in the area of green hydrogen. With the extensive sun hours that we have, it is possible that green hydrogen has to become part and parcel of the bigger mix. And there are already 4 private sector investors that have begun looking at this closer, and they have already begun to speak to us as government around what is possible. And not most of that could likelihood be public-private partnership initiatives.
Thank you very much for citing the green hydrogen, because it's true that Southern Africa, together with Morocco and Tunisia and Northern Africa, are the already studied the best areas of the continent for this kind of development, and definitely it will be the future of our mobility also. So really thank Ambassador. I would like to give the floor to Italian Ambassador to Namibia and South Africa, that is Paolo Cuculi. Thank you very much for being with us this morning, Ambassador. I would like to start with you talking about Italy is a country that has a very good knowledge of renewable systems. Which kind of contribution do you think that the Italian companies, broad also European one, can give to this push that African countries, Southern African countries, are giving to renewable?
Thank you, Mr. Zaurini, for the invitation. Good morning to all the distinguished guests, panelists, and friends, notably my colleagues, ambassadors in Italy, and my colleague, Ambassador Antonino in Lusaka. I'll try to be brief. I think that Italy can offer the experience made years ago already, as a country that is not rich in energy sources. And so before it became an absolute necessity worldwide, we were obliged to explore ways in advance in order to have a good mix of traditional and renewable energy, and identify clearly a path leading to an ever-increasing role of renewable energies in our energy mix. And last year, I read the Italian power production from clean sources raised to almost 50%, well in advance of what we had anticipated in our past. And clearly, with the climate change issues becoming more and more pressing in Italy, but in Southern Africa as well, both in terms of pollution and in terms of efficiency, industrial efficiency of old coal-powered plants, the experience we made is becoming more and more relevant for the countries that are hosting us here in this part of Africa. Needless to say, beside this experience as a strategy, national strategy, we have several companies who have been on the forefront of this new journey, notably in Southern Africa. Now, I don't want to anticipate what our good friends, Mr. Battisti from Enel Green Power and Mr. Guerra from Enertronica Santerno will say about the commitment of their companies in South Africa and in the area. But I just would like to remind that already today, Enel Green Power is the major private producer of renewable energy in South Africa, with a generation capacity of 1.2 gigawatts, and Mr. Battisti will correct me if I quote wrongly some of those statistics, and a capacity which is growing. Elettronica Santerno has been quite well established in South Africa as well. I think it is important to underline our companies are effectively accompanying the strategic choices of the South African government. There will be soon, there has been an opening of the 5th bid window of the South African Renewable Energy Independent Power Producer Procurement Program. I'm sorry for the length of the name. That gave a clear indication of the strategic decision taken by President Ramaphosa to heavily invest on renewable energies, as well as the recent decision by the public energy company Eskom to repurpose 3 coal-fired power plants. And again, our companies are well positioned to contribute again to this effort. Hydrogen was mentioned by the distinguished ambassador of Namibia. In Italy, we have groundbreaking technologies from SNAM, for instance, in order to use existing gas pipelines to transporting a blend of hydrogen and natural gas. We have other Italian companies who are already present in the market in South Africa, in Southern Africa, and willing to expand their operations. Building Energy in South Africa was now called Red Rocket. The newly established Salini Impregilo, we build that has had a quite an important role in constructing the Ingula pumped storage scheme here in South Africa with an installed capacity of 1,300 megawatt. We have companies working on water projects in Lesotho with a view to enhancing the renewable capacity energy coming from water, and many other. I will just mention them not to bother the audience. Ansaldo in the field of turbines, Saipem for the development of natural gas, Eni, who's more and more shifting his focus of production from traditional energy to renewables. So overall, I think we are already, Italy is already an important partner for South Africa and Southern Africa. We have all the credentials, all the commitment to become an even stronger and closer partners for friends and countries in that area because of our strategic choices made at national level, because of the knowledge, the experience, and the technical expertise developed and already demonstrated on the field. So trust us, we are reliable, they know the job, and our diplomatic net here in Southern Africa is fully committed to accompany this common journey. I would stop here for the time being.
Thank you. A straight question, just very fast, because you cited a lot of Italian champions on the energy sector. And let me just say hello also to SNAM, because we talked about green hydrogen, and the SNAM that is present here, and between the discussant, we have a representative of this company, is one of the 7 world champions of green hydrogen. So, but I would like to ask, you know, for South Africa, I will ask also to South African ambassador later. This year, 2021, is quite an important year for renewable. You cited the bid windows 5 that will take place. The last one was in 2015, so 6 years ago. And but we all know that there is also some changing, working on some changing on the legal framework for smaller productions. And do you think that South African can be also a good and interesting market for Italian or European SMEs in the production from renewables at the moment or in the next future?
Thank you for the question. I will try to give an answer which is not too diplomatic. I think the future of our economies, both in Italy and Southern Africa, will depend pretty much on the way we will able to assist and promote our small and medium enterprise and micro enterprises in general. The debate about choices of energy renewables on grid and off grid has been going for some quite some time. There is no answer that fits all the jackets. We need the big projects on the major grid. We definitely will need small projects off grids. Then the experts will be in a position to give more precise answers. But my sense is that yes, there will be a role also for small and medium enterprises. In that sense, it is necessary on both sides, on both continents, to create the conditions from a legislation point of view, from a financing point of view, to help small and medium enterprises to enter this market, to stay in these markets and grow on this market. So this is a major endeavor that call all of us into question, and is definitely an avenue of work that we will have to explore carefully and deepen and show as the same commitment as in the renewable energy sector altogether.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. And also, I really like the SMEs because, you know, in this sector, SMEs and micro companies, they have to work in joint venture, in partnership. And this is important also for the local content that, you know, we are in an area, Southern Africa, that is really correctly concentrated on the growing of local content in all sectors. So thank you very much. I would like to invite Ambassador Joseph Katema, that is Ambassador of Zambia in Italy, to open the mic, and I will give the floor to him just with one, not the question is, you know, I was shocked some years ago when I saw some images of some of the dams of Zambia that were completely empty. Zambia is a country that had great part of its energy capacity relying on hydropower, but the climate change that, you know, for us in Europe, sometimes it seems like a sort of luxury. Zambia was a country hit very, very hard from this kind of thing, and the energy, and we saw in a plastic way what kind of consequences we can have, and one of the dam was one of the most shocking. And this is my consideration. I think move the government to change the energy mix and go with renewable very, very fast. Ambassador Katema, is it correct, my analysis? Was the climate change that also give impetus to your renewable energy strategy with the solar mainly? Ambassador, I think you have to open the mic. Okay, that's it.
Thank you very much, Massimo. You are very correct. Hydroelectric power constitutes 82% of all the power generated in Zambia. Before I come to that, please allow me to give an overview of the whole power situation in Zambia, and then come to renewable alternatives, which we have come to agree upon. The Zambian government has developed a power system development master plan, whose objective is to provide a blueprint for power system development up to the year 2030. In this includes the concerns which we have just highlighted here. There is a lot of demand for power. With an annual GDP growth of an average of 5.2% per annum in the past 10 years, and the population growth of 3.1%, the demand for energy in Zambia has escalated. The demand for electricity has been growing at an average of about 3% per annum, mainly due to increased economic activity in the country, especially in agriculture, manufacturing, and mining sectors. The demand for power has also been increased due to the access to the grid, national grid, through rural electrification program. So demand for power has increased, while the problem which you have just highlighted here about the dry dams due to the climate change has also impacted heavily upon us. Allow me to highlight identified renewable energies and their potentials in Zambia. The annual average solar PV potential in Zambia is 1,863 kilowatt hour, which can be used to model large power plants in the country. Following the approval of the renewable energy feed-in tariff strategy by the government, Zambia now has 88 megawatt of utility scale solar energy installed under the Industrial Development Corporation, IDC. This is in Bangweulu, 54 megawatts, and in Ngonye, 34 megawatts. The IDC is doing this in collaboration with Enel Green Power of Italy, the green energy giant from Italy. Further, many private solar companies have mini grids as well, operating, while others are conducting feasibility studies on solar mini grids and utility scale. We also are looking very seriously into the wind energy. The long-term average wind speed are about 6.4 meters per second at the hub of 130 meters. Average speed is 7.1 meters per second. And the potential gross annual energy output of 367.6 gigawatt hours. This is about wind energy. There is great potential there. While as for biomass, under the Bioenergy or Food Security Assessment Project, the results indicated that there is significant potential to develop a total capacity of 1,192 megawatts of off-grid electricity per year. Further, the results indicate that introducing improved charcoal technologies could potentially result in an average saving of 17 cubic meters. But of great importance also is geothermal. Zambia has a potential for geothermal energy development with about 86 known hot springs. Hot springs are a surface manifestation, you know that. At present, there is only one small geothermal generation out of the 86. This was installed due to an initiative with the Italian government in the mid-1980s. That is the Capiscia Hot Springs. It generates a 2 by 120 kilowatts turbine. In recent estimates indicated that the plant can be upgraded to 2 megawatts of electricity. Now, efforts are being made by the public electricity company, ZESCO, to revive this plant. So in that area, we need also partners.
Thanks so much.
Micro hydropower generation, there are a number of potential for mini hydropower generation in Zambia, which are at different levels of development, at feasibility study, etc., etc. The hydropower production potential is estimated at 6,000 megawatts. At the moment, we only have 2,900 megawatts. So government is encouraging investors to develop alternative energy sources and related energy mix: solar, wind, geothermal, biomass, ethanol, waste to energy, etc. With the emphasis on this is a very important one, which I have highlighted.
Thanks very much, Ambassador. Thanks very much also for citing the geothermal. That is quite interesting, and I think it's something new also in your country and in this area, for my knowledge. So I will go and study it in the next days. I would like now to give the floor to Ambassador Antonino Maggiore, that is Ambassador of Italy in Zambia. So we will keep staying in this beautiful country. Ambassador, we in Lusaka, we have a small but vibrant Italian community, and so it's always a pleasure to have contact with this country. I don't know. I would like you to help us understanding what's happening in the country now. As I told, this shift to some new renewable energy sources after the impact of climate change. How do you see the situation? Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Zaurini, and let me start by thanking very much the organizer of Anderson, and in particular, Mr. Moretti. Let me also greet very warmly all my colleagues, and in particular, my dear friend, His Excellency Ambassador Paolo Cucculi, and Ambassador His Excellency Joseph Katema, with whom we work in a very strong team, also on energy and renewable energies. I would like to answer your question with two parts. The first is about how I see the opportunities in Zambia for the Italian companies. And then I will revert to the Italian community that plays a very important role, as you have highlighted. Ambassador Katema highlighted the opportunities in terms of figures, and it is absolutely true. Zambia is experiencing too much dependence on hydropower. 80% of the production of electricity comes from water, and that is not sustainable. So other sources of energy are a necessity for the country. And the country has already started working on that. The success of the plant in Ngonie on solar plant of Enel Green Power was mentioned. there are other examples that are already a reality of Italian companies that are there, like Building Energy is another company that is carrying on a project in this sector. But there are opportunities for many other countries, and that's what we are trying to work on, supporting Italian companies to come to Zambia, because Zambia offers a very strong, a very solid legal framework. That is number one element that I want to underline. Rest for Africa Foundation, I would like to say hi to my friend Antonio Passero, who is with us, issued a very important study that shows how the opportunities in photovoltaics and then wind and in wind are already there, given the structure that is already in place in Zambia. So by 2025, 2030, there are huge potentials to grow in these two sectors. I was saying, we are putting energy and renewable energy at the center of many initiatives, many of our workshops. We did one with the Rest for Africa in October 2020. We did one with the Italian Trade Agency very recently, one together with the Zambian embassy in Rome, as I just said. I'm saying this because the opportunities are there, are very concrete, and I cannot agree more with my colleague, Ambassador Kukuli, that the potentials are there for small and medium enterprises, because we already have the big companies. Enel is there, Eni is there, other big companies are there, but there is a lot of space. How? To be concrete, money is not a problem in Zambia. You might think that it is a provocation, because we all know that it's a delicate situation for the government finances, and the government is actively working on that. But what I'm saying is that international organizations are putting a lot of resources, a lot of funds of energy. The European Union, the World Bank, the Enel Green Power project is financed by the World Bank, the African Development Bank. So our role as institutions is to accompany the Italian companies to take the opportunities that are offered in this framework, especially by international organizations, and we are there to do that. The Italian community, yes, is an incredible added value in Zambia, because it used to be very, very big, around 4,000 Italians in the 60s and the 70s. Now the number declined. We have around 800 Italian citizens in Zambia, but they are extremely active. Proof is that last year, the Italian community created the Italian Business Club, which is the association of the Italian companies, and the chairman, Mr. Michele Scarantino, and all the board members are there to support the companies to come to Zambia. So I think the Italian community is very well established, very active, and can offer an incredible support to the fellow citizens that from Italy want to come to Zambia.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, also for your attention at the timing, and I really appreciate from all of you until now. And I would like to give the floor now to Ambassador Nosifo Nauska Nakaba, that is Ambassador of South Africa in Italy. And Ambassador, good morning.
Good morning.
To have you here. I've heard about you, but the first time I see you, and we are both in Rome, and I will come and visit you as soon as possible. And really, it's a great pleasure for being with us today. And you know, I would like to start with the same thing that I asked to Italian ambassador in South Africa and Namibia, Ambassador Kukuli. 2021 is quite an exciting year for renewable energy in your country, no? We have bid Windows 5, there are rumors and changing coming in some regulation, and is it correct, or I'm exciting too much?
Well, you should be excited. Certainly, I think that you are right. South Africa has offers enormous opportunities for the renewable energy program, and especially, I guess you were talking earlier on about the small generation. There has already been a signal to that effect with the publication that was made in April, indicating that South Africa is going to increase the threshold for small generation from 1 megawatt, possibly to 10 megawatt. I hear the private sector is pushing for 50 megawatts. So it's exciting. I don't know what then the consultation process is going to end up with, but that does then open up room for investors definitely from Italy, because I'm in Italy. So I would like the private sector in Italy to really watch the space. And as my colleague, Ambassador Kukuli, already outlined, South Africa is ready for business. And of course, I guess part of the key question that I was pondering before I agreed to participate in this session was whether, in terms of legislation and predictability, South Africa is truly ready. My response would be that yes, certainly South Africa is ready. We've had, an interesting history from a legislative point of view. Since 2008, when I was still the Director General of the Department of Environmental Affairs, we had the climate change mitigation scenarios adopted by Cabinet in South Africa on consideration of the greenhouse gas emissions, which arise mainly from energy generation in South Africa. And of course, as you might all know, that we have been heavily dependent on coal production or fossil fuel production. And in 2009, and end of 2009, there was a conference of parties in Copenhagen where South Africa made the commitment to transition to a low carbon future. So based on the policy, and the policy on climate change response was adopted in South Africa during 2012. And since then, I think even now there are processes. The president has set up a climate change presidential committee, and those have that initial decision has cultivated the energy transition, both from a policy framework point of view, is because the white paper was published in 2011, 2012, the one for energy and inclusion, particularly for the inclusion of renewables in the energy mix in South Africa. And since then, the IPP office, which is what is running or responsible for the various renewable energy bidding program, was set up in 2010, and its first decisions were published in 2012 with the bid window 1. And certainly there was a delay with decisions implementation on bid window 4, and those have been unblocked by the president and cabinet recently. And therefore, I would say that South Africa has already approved a private sector program for energy generation that both is competitive, and two, it does offer reliability in terms of its availability, as it may be signaled by, if I may refer to the renewable energy program participation of, there was a published document or directive last year in September by the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, indicating that those generators in the renewable energy space with projects that are ready to generate could then be taken on board, and that has actually helped South Africa with some aspects of the challenge of load shedding and And therefore, some of the renewable energy projects that were ready could then come on stream. So the legislative environment has the flexibility to bring on board more renewable energy projects depending on the need in South Africa. So from that point of view, those decisions can be made, and Cabinet currently under President Ramaphosa is able to make those decisions as efficiently as it has happened currently. So my sense of participating here is that, one, I was here to say, both from a social objectives point of view, because South Africa is looking at energy generation or even electricity generation from a point of view of creating more access to citizens, and to meet social needs. So those social objectives are still enormous. There's still gaps in South Africa meeting those social objectives. The environmental challenges, again, in respect of us reducing our carbon emissions and limiting pollution, certainly South Africa has made the commitment that it wants to be a global good citizen from an environmental sustainability point of view. And therefore, certainly we are then ready to accept investors that would contribute to that transition. And economically, our renewable energy program has been competitive, and it has attracted, I guess, in terms of numbers, if I were to check, I think we were sitting at about 84 billion, around 80 billion rands that came from private investment out of the current generation from renewables. So the opportunity exists, and if one were to just outline on the technologies, in the main, from bid window 1 and 2, from what I remember, we have had more participation on solar PV and wind, and we've had a bit of uptake of CSP, concentrated solar power, in bid window 4, and there's still limited technology participation in respect of, I would say, biomass, I would say hydro, small hydro, and I would also say, without any possible contradiction, there's not been any demonstration as yet in respect of wave technologies, because South Africa has got an interesting coastal environment, and it is ready to generate energy from.
Ambassador, on this, I've been studying the bid Windows 5, and I saw that the window.
Okay.
The window, sorry, not the window. the wind part is very important this year in this Windows 5 of RAPE program, and also that your government, your country, is betting also as Namibia on green hydrogen. No, is something that's probably for the future. Is it correct?
So definitely, I mean, already Sasol and a partner in Italy there's already a commitment on a hydrogen generation. And certainly both the scientific world in South Africa, CSIR, and a number of other science councils have been testing and investigating hydrogen technology. And in South Africa already there is buy-in on that technology, and there's an opportunity for hydrogen technology. So certainly we are ready for that as a market.
Thank you very much. I would like also to underline that in South Africa, there is a big, important Italian community that is historic. And also some of the most important South African companies active on renewables have some Italian origin in
of course,
infrastructure.
Of course,
So
of course. I've met a few already in here in Italy, and certainly the Italian companies have a footprint in South Africa, and it can only grow. I can say that.
Thank you very much to all the ambassadors. Really a big thank, because thanks to you, we were able staying in time that we had. So now it's up to the companies to do better than the ambassadors, and it will be very difficult. So I will start the next question, the next session. Please, giving the floor to two of the engine of this conference, that are Kesha J. Manolios of Andersen in South Africa, and Alessandro Moretti from Andersen in Italy. Kesha, the floor is yours. Pay attention to the time. The ambassadors were great, all of them. You have to do better.
No pressure. Okay, great. Thank you, Massimo. And good morning, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be part of this conference with you all. And I'd like to just take this opportunity to thank you for your participation. As Leah mentioned, this conference is the first of 3 conferences that Andersen Global is arranging this year as part of the Andersen Bridge Africa Europe project. This project is something that we at Andersen are extremely proud of, and we hope that each one of you will benefit greatly from. And my colleague in Italy, Alessandro Moretti, he's going to address you in a minute, and he will provide you with more information on the Bridge project and how we will work together to assist businesses like those in this conference bridge the gap between the 2 continents. By way of introduction, I'm a partner at Andersen in South Africa. I specialize in commercial litigation and alternative dispute resolution, as well as restructuring and insolvency. And Andersen in South Africa is a hybrid tax advisory and full service law firm, and we are a full member of Andersen Global. And just to give you a bit of an idea about the presence of Andersen globally, Andersen is in 256 locations worldwide, and this includes 45 countries in Africa. And with the benefit of our in-country expertise and relationships, we can offer our clients a single, trusted corporate legal and tax advisory resource to provide objective advice, which is in the client's best interests, regardless of the client's location or investment destination. Of course, we service our clients across a number of industries, but we have a special interest in the renewable energy sector, as we believe that the move to renewables makes sense for all countries, but especially those faced with economic constraints that prevent them from building the energy infrastructure that will stimulate economic growth. The renewable energy sector provides significant opportunity for great return on investment for stakeholders, with countries like Morocco, Egypt, Ethiopia, Kenya, South Africa, and Ghana already having implemented massive renewable energy projects in the last few years. And of particular importance, and as was already mentioned by Ambassadors Kukuli and Ambassadors Ngaba, is the South African government's Independent Power Producer Procurement Program. And this is a public-private partnership that encourages independent energy producers to submit bids on the development and the design of large-scale renewable energy plants. As we've heard from the ambassadors, there's significant opportunity in the renewable energy sector in Africa. And in just a few minutes, you will be hearing about those opportunities from the businesses that are involved in the renewable energy projects in South Africa, Namibia, or Zambia, and some of which are looking to partner with other businesses in these projects. So before we hand the floor to these businesses, I'd like to introduce you to my colleague, Alessandro Moretti, who, as I mentioned earlier, is going to tell you a little bit more about the Bridge project and how we at Andersen will work together to assist businesses in this project. Thank you, Alessandro.
Thank you, Kesha. Alessandro, we are friends, and I know you. I will have no mercy with you, okay? So pay attention to the timing. You have to open the mic.
Thank you, Massimo. Thank you, Kesha. Special thanks immediately, to the ambassador that would like to join this conference. I have to mention her, Excellency Nosipo Nosca, His Excellency Albertus Haucham His Excellence Paolo Cuccoli, His Excellence Joseph Catema, His Excellence Antonino Maggiore, and all the companies that accepted the invitation. It's really a pleasure to have all of you here because you are all part of this project that is called Bridge. What is the bridge? The bridge is like an infrastructure that we built a couple of years ago, just talking during a conference with our colleagues. The infrastructure is between Africa and Europe because we believe that there is a future together between the European and the African companies, that there are similar characters that can be mixed together to have an added value from both parties. And the pillars where the bridge is working are our professionals based in Africa and Europe, and with their commitment to support the internationalization process of the companies that want to make this journey. It is a big journey, as we understand. The main important fact of the bridge is the cultural aspect. I mean, we want to give the companies a safety area where they can walk with us during their internationalization journey. Of course, we give also all our professionality in tax, legal, and advisory services, as Keisha mentioned before. Why Bridge is an open-minded project? Because in accompanying the companies, we involve different stakeholders that are necessary to the success of internationalization. Just for example, the embassies, the business association, the ministries of and agencies for trade and investment, the government offices, the Chamber of Commerce, the private funds, the private equity funds, and in the investment banks. So with the help and support of all these stakeholders, we think we can complete the bridge structure to assist and support the companies in their journey. So thank you very much, Massimo. Thank you very much, all. I close here my message.
Thank you, Alessandro. You were very perfect in timing, so thank you. No, really, I really want to thank all of you of Andersen, because these professionals are really very dedicated to this project. And you know, for me, that I'm trying to change the narrative about Africa in Italy, is so important to have such great allies to do this work. So now I think that we can start with some of business and training opportunities and case studies that we have had. I would like to explain my, why I'm giving so much importance to timing, because we have a rich panel of discussants made up of investment fund, professional of the sector, and I really would like to keep some times for involving them in the debate at the end. So I would like to start now with, you were cited, Emanuele Battisti of Enel Green Power. Your company is, I know very well what they do and the work that you are doing, and is really one of the main actors of this sector in this area of the continent. So it's with great pleasure that I give you the floor, but I also want to tell you that I will have no mercy also with you.
I will be very strict on
No,
time.
not
But I will try to be very short, even to give time for the Q&A session that might be even more interesting than, let's say, a preset speech. So first of all, I want to thank you for the honor to be present in this event organized by Anderson, attended by a lot of, let's say, excellencies, of course, of the Southern African region, plus a lot of business mates and people that I met along my journey in Africa, which now lasts since, well, 2014. Let me project quickly my presentation, which intention is just to drive through the idea on why the company, I hope that you can, sorry, just a second, how and why a company like Enel landed in Southern Africa, starting from what the company does, even if, of course, has been mentioned already many times in this, let's say, in the previous presentations, and also why South Africa is such important for us, such as we established a pretty large company here. So let's start from Enel Group very quickly. So Enel is not only present in renewable, even if, of course, the 90% of the growth is expected in the generation in renewable business. But Enel is still the first operator in the world in terms of networks, in larger private players in terms of renewable, and also larger retail customer base worldwide. When it comes to numbers, here there is a brief of numbers that Enel accounts in the world in terms of countries of presence, capacity managed, which now reached above the numbers of 50 gigawatt. But what is important to remark is what Enel is looking to the future. Because clearly, many times has been mentioned that Enel is a very large operator already in South Africa, but we don't want just to be the old giant. So the appetite for the company is pretty huge. And in the last investment presentation of early this year, our CEO presented the plan of an additional capacity of 100 gigawatt of power over the next 10 years, all in renewables. So clearly, this plan is pretty ambitious. It cannot be focused only in the markets where Enel has a large integrated presence, like Europe or Latin America, but needs a lot of effort in all the continents, including and focusing mainly in the African continent. Technology-wise, Enel operates in the generation and in general in renewable, the four major generation technologies, so wind onshore, photovoltaic, which are the focus of the Southern African region, geothermal, which Enel is looking at for a development along the Rift Valley, so even including Zambia, as has been mentioned already earlier, hydroelectric, and even battery storage. Something that is not reported here in terms of technology is the green hydrogen. Green hydrogen is a challenge, of course, for the future, especially in countries like, let's say, more mature countries, but even in Africa, we are already experiencing some possible investment in the medium term regarding the green hydrogen. Quickly, the presence in Sub-Saharan Africa. So, as you see, the green part is pretty scattered. We do have a local presence in 3 countries of Sub-Saharan Africa, but still looking in terms of scouting to some other countries in the region. Clearly, the majority is made of Enel Green Power South Africa, which counts, as correctly mentioned, almost 1.2 gigawatt of projects between already in operation and under construction in the 2 technology, wind and solar. We do have the 34 megawatt in operation in Zambia, Lusaka, and a local presence in Nairobi with quite an important pipeline of projects. Johannesburg really represents also our headquarters for the region, having now reached, let's say, almost 200 people hired in the country, with probably just 5 or 6 people not being South African. But how and why Enel selects some countries and not others? So clearly there is a matrix of decision-making points which make a country being tier 1 rather than tier 2 and be attractive in the short term rather in the medium term. So the 3 major pillars are clearly resource-wise, so the abundance of resources, which fortunately in Africa is present almost everywhere. Better if, of course, the resource is along more than one technology, which allow diversification of the investment technology-wise. Clearly, the favorable macroeconomic conditions of the growing market, so market-related. And the third pillar, which is really, really relevant in terms of stability for an industrial operator like ourselves, is the predictability of the regulatory framework. Here, this is a very dense chart, but let me just give you a flavor of it. So all the regulatory frameworks evolve over simple ones like feed-in tariff policies, which allow like first come, first served approach over tariff, which are highly incentivized to develop technologies. Then it moves to tenders, where of course the target of the markets and countries is to challenge over lower and lower tariffs. But this clearly, which is where South Africa paved to some extent the way of the continent with the REAP program, it's just the starting point for a mature and evolved market of electricity, which then goes to private PPAs, so bilaterals between private companies like large customers and large IPPs, toward more complex solution, which mix public and private sector, as well as multiple source of electricity, as well as multiple customers. The trend is really there already in South Africa and in Southern Africa. The market is still mainly focused in volumes on the regulated actions, but slowly, there is more and more interest in the private market, which to some extent reduce the risk associated to the single buyer. This is what's happening in Africa, basically. So there is a lot of countries which already have targets for renewable, which already launched public program, and to some extent, which are starting the commercial and industrial market for private PPAs. These are mostly Morocco and South Africa currently, but there are some other markets that are starting up like Kenya, Zambia itself, and others. So going to South Africa. So clearly, to arrive to the REAP program, South Africa started long time ago. So with white papers, government adoption of renewable targets, up to arriving in 2011 with launching the first round of the REAP program, which then was followed up by numbers of other programs and rounds, and allowed South Africa being the largest market for IPPs, renewable IPPs in the continent. And even setting like a benchmark for a very complicated and even effective program for renewables, being the REAP program. Together with this, South Africa, let's say on a good pace, renew its target for renewables. And we see here a very, again, dense, but let me focus on specific numbers, targets for PV and wind, which accounts more than 50% of the growth for the future generation in South Africa, and clearly set all the dimension, which will be then followed up with specific tenders like the REAP. But what's the main characteristic of the REAP program? This is an extract of what's happening for the round 5, which is slightly different than the past rounds, but still keeping the same rationale. So it's a tender that gives privilege to industrial investors, long-term approach, which view is on very competitive tariffs, being the market very, very crowded of good projects and good investors, but still keeping a space for the development of the country in terms of economical participation of South African and Black ownership, as well as boosting local content and the use of local resources. This means that technically the tender is not representing, the most effective tender toward the price, because it's still embedding some additional costs which are not, let's say, only project related. However, even if, of course, the tender allowed to fund activities which are external to the project, the tariff trend, which came from 2011 until what is expected 2021 for the next bid round, which submission is August this year, is very, very important. So we see that the initial tariffs, as happening in any country, is very high to start up the process. But now numbers are in rand per megawatt hour. So we have to consider that probably a reasonable number for this round will be in the range of the equivalent 30 or even below euro per megawatt hour. So numbers that are competitive in any other market worldwide. These compared to what's happening in the competitive arena. So we know that the 1.6 gigawatt of wind which are put in tender and the 1 gigawatt of solar can be translated in 11 to 12 wind project and 13 to 14 solar project to be allocated. These compared to presence in the market of operator and project, which is time 4, time 5, or even beyond. So we expect a very, very crowded and competitive exercise, which will end up with a bid submission and actually with an expected financial close pretty soon. Just to conclude, this is the presence of Enel Green Power in South Africa at the moment, which clearly we don't want to stop here in terms of capacity, since we are working intensively over round 5 and also toward the possible private opportunities. The portfolio is made of solar and wind project, pretty spread in the market, clearly concentrated in the areas where the resource is better, even if we perceive that the trend in the medium term will be in terms of moving the bet spots toward different areas of the country where the demand is more concentrated. I will stop my presentation here. I will just go through quickly some of the pictures of our projects, just to give a visual effect of what we are doing in the country. These are the solar projects. These are some of the wind power plants in operation, which last connected is Nuba project, connected just at the end of 2020. And these are the projects which are about to be connected by 2021. Thank you very much. Let me
Thank you, Manuele.
Stop sharing.
Okay, thank you very much. Just a very fast question, and please, if you can give me also a fast answer. How is it easy for an Italian or South African or local company, a smaller company, to work with you as a subcontractor? It's possible, there is a way even?
Of course, we do have space. So any of our projects and activity entails a procurement activity which is open to contractors. Some of the contractors are coming from Italy. Many others are local, because clearly we are also boosting the presence of local enterprises. But the idea that we have in mind is clearly also to bring with us some of the Italian excellencies when we enter a new market. So there's a number of experience in Kenya, in Zambia, as well as here in South Africa, where part of the contractors are made of Italian companies or the supply is made of Italian goods. Thank you very much, Emanuele. It's, I think we will have later in the session and the debate other opportunities to listen to you. I will like now to give the floor to Luigi Guerra of Enertronica Santerno. Enertronica Santerno is a listed company operating in the energy sector and is a leader manufacturer of motor drives and inverters. Luigi, the floor is yours. Also to you, please pay attention to the time.
Thank you, Massimo. Actually, Emanuele made my task here much easier because he spoke about a couple of things that I would have done. And by the way, we are one of those companies that Emanuele mentioned. Enel Green Power is one of our major clients in the country. And we came in South Africa, or let's say our presence in South Africa has been consolidated through this partnership with Enel Green Power. So we, as a Santerno, are a clear example of what can happen or can be done for Italian companies in this country. Let me quickly just share my presentation with you. I hope that you won't see yourself in these.
I saw that 25 slides. We already talked about that. Really?
No, it's quick. It's quick. It's quick. Just something about us. We have 12 gigawatt of inverter station installed all around the world. We operate in 150 countries. We are not present just in the power generation market, but we also operate in industrial automation. Actually, industrial automation is our first market where we actually focus. And then power generation came with industrial automation. More or less, this is what we look like all around the world. As you can see, we have more than 6 gigawatt of our products installed all around the world. Actually, there is some add-on recently in the Arabic countries. We just connected a 68 megawatt plant in Jordan with our inverters. Which was quite a challenging environment where to operate because you are under very specific operating conditions, also in terms of safety of the people that you bring in the countries. In terms of our offices, we are quite well represented all around the world. We do have a physical office here in South Africa. And we operate in South Africa with different companies, as you can see from the list on the right-hand side. But we also have a presence in Namibia. The company that you see on the right-hand side are special purpose vehicles that we set up in order for us to approach the REFIT project, governmental project in the country, but we also operated as an EPC contractor through Enertronica Construction Namibia, for which we still retain a managerial role. We are not majority shareholders anymore in the company, but we still assist the new shareholding with our managerial support. We are proud to say that the company has been sold to local shareholders. We are proud to say that this was a collaboration that started from the very beginning. The shareholders were minority shareholders, and now they became majority shareholder, and we are still supporting them with our managerial contribution. In terms of our track record, just a couple of pictures of some of the power plants that we've been commissioning all around the world. This is the biggest solar plant in Latin America. You can see on the right-hand side how our skids look like. But what I wanted to do is I want to focus quickly on South Africa and Namibia. Our experience is quite wide. We've been acting as EPC contractors. We've been acting as technology providers. We've been acting as IPPs in Namibia. This means that in some specific cases, we'll be building the plant all by ourselves, meaning that we had a contract in place with an IPP in South Africa. Specifically, Manuel already showed you that the first two projects are EGP projects. They both, one is based in the Northern Cape, the other one is based in the Free State, and there we acted as an EPC contractor. But we've been technology provider for a bunch of other projects, as you can see, within the REIPP program. In Namibia, we actually are IPPs. So we do have our own assets, which are connected to the grid. When it's going to be connected hopefully in June, July. This means that we have power purchase agreements in place with the Namibian authorities, which give us also a little bit of experience from this point of view. We are not giants like Enel Green Power, but we're talking about the biggest utility, green utility in the world. So we're happy just to be their partners, our technological partners. We do have a structure in South Africa, and I think this means a lot, because it means that we are willing to, as well in Namibia, whatever I say for South Africa, 95% of the cases applies to Namibia as well. This means that we believe in the country, because otherwise that won't justify the presence of the count of heads that you can see on the left-hand side. So we do have, as you can see here locally, 35 persons, of which there's one person that is not South African, which would be me. All the other persons that are employed by our South African companies are all South Africans. The 6 persons that we employ in Namibia, they're all Namibians. This is in line with what are the main targets that Namibian government and the South African government put forward for foreign companies to operate in a country. And we are very proud to say that we are 100% in compliance with what they require, meaning transferring knowledge to local people, to local employees, in order for them to become the new entrepreneurs. We had cases of technicians that left our company and started their own private companies, and we are very proud to say that we supported them throughout the process. It's something that it's part of our mission in these countries. Just to give you an idea of how our product looks like, it's a complex product. And as you can see on the left-hand side, where it looks like this thing is flying, all right, just a little bit of this complex product is actually manufactured outside of South Africa or outside of Namibia, which is the inverter, our core business, of course, in the market. Anything else is locally manufactured, and everything is locally assembled, tested, and commissioned on site with local resources, and of course, with the expertise of a couple of senior technicians that we bring in from Italy. The reason for my intervention here is, I think, mainly focused on aspects that are practical aspects, and that's where I would like to focus. Of course, why South Africa and Namibia? Lots of these points that are popping out in this slide were already discussed by Manuele, so I'm not going to go there. What I wanted to add to what Manuele said is that for us, for our specific experience in the country, of course, it helped the fact that in the country there's still lack of the specific technology that we were able to bring into the country. So what I mean is that, of course, the limited technological barrier to the market in Namibia and South Africa, of course, helped the company in setting up their own branches in these two countries. What I'd like to discuss, however, is what are the practical aspects that we had to sort out or deal with when setting up the company here. There's a number of items that one should look at when thinking about setting up a company in South Africa. And I think we are going there in Namibia as well. And this, of course, has to deal with the local policies in terms of employing local people, giving opportunities to local entrepreneurs to be part of your shareholding. It's something that one needs to consider very carefully, because the idea of or the necessity to find the right partner in this country is crucial to your entire experience in the country. It can be actually the difference in between a very successful business story or a total failure in the country. And of course, some specific aspects also affect the projects that you are going to manage. See, for instance, the socio-economic development obligations that are included in the contract that a company like us, a technology provider, signs with a big company like Enel Green Power or Building Energy or Scatec Solar, which imposes that some specific aspects are taken care of carefully, like employing, as I said, local people, meeting BEE requirements, and CEDAR. But there is an aspect that I think it's strategic, and is securing finance. And from this point of view, I love to raise the interest of the diplomacy that is sitting in this meeting. We are not Enel Green Power. Enel Green Power came in this country with their own money. They built their own farms, not getting one single rent out of the banks. Now, for a company like Enel Green Power to come in another country and using their own money, I don't think they didn't make any sort of due diligence. It means that getting money in the country was quite difficult, and it's something that we as a medium-sized company experienced, whereby when we were sitting with banks, massive collaterals came in place. I'm a small company, I'm a medium-sized company. I don't want to put down a collateral. I want to have an opportunity to build this thing, prove that I have a track record all around the world. So that should be sufficient. But what I'm trying to say here is secure your finance before you come to South Africa, because at the beginning, because of course afterwards, the first projects, everything was easier. But at the very beginning, it could be quite challenging because the banking structure is very well established because of the historical relationship in between the country and the United Kingdom. So the guys here know what they are doing. They exactly know what they're doing. But of course, they are a little bit risk adverse, let's say it this way, which makes things very, very complicated. When all the
banks are risk adverse.
Well, I know, especially because my dad was the vice president on an important bank in Italy. So unfortunately, I deal with banks every day of my life. But what I'm saying is, this is extremely important. And this is something that the ambassador Kuli was discussing about. And I was sitting recently in another webinar, which was arranged by the South African Association of companies operating in the solar business. And there were micro enterprises, South African micro enterprises, which were set up by previously disadvantaged people that were asking, how do we get finance for us to be an active part in this business? Because
thank you very much, because it was the question that I had to you, and is one of the reasons why I'm trying to save time, because we have some investment fund in the discussion, some banks also in the public. I've seen there are a couple of banks, so it's probably this element. It's one of the central for medium enterprises or micro, as you told.
Absolutely.
And thank you very much. If you can stop the screen, and I think that we can. I will use you after to give this question to some of the discussants that we have. But I really appreciate your presentation, and I agree with Liam Berry that in chat wrote that loves the local for local approach of your company. That is it's really important. And I would like to go on now and give the floor to Professor Cobus Jonker, that is the director of Swane School for Business and Society in Pretoria. And Professor Jonker, please, the floor is yours. Also to you, pay attention to the time.
Good day, and thank you for this opportunity. It's really a privilege to talk to you this morning, and also to the ambassadors and all the distinguished guests. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm going to try to share my screen. I hope it's going to work. Let's see. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so first of all, I was appointed in January 2019 at this business school. The business school is part of one of the biggest universities in South Africa, the Tshwane School for Business and Society. And I was appointed here to change the strategic focus of the school, and also to find a new vision and mission and product focus after I've spent many years at a very prominent business school in South Africa. And part of our new vision as a university, the vision of the university is to be a people's university, and our business school new vision is to have an impact on society. Therefore, we've also had a change in corporate image and name. We are now the Tshwane School for Business and Society, one of only 4 business schools with this name in the world. In fact, there's also one in Italy, and the United States, and in Holland, and the only business school in South Africa. Why this focus? Because of the fact that we want to make a sorry, now my computer wants to restart. Let me just leave it. One of only 4 business schools in the world, and only one in South Africa. Just to say who we are, let me just close this. Just to say who we are the only business school in Tshwane, which is of course the country seat of power, although we have the University of Pretoria also here. The business school is in Johannesburg. We have an accredited MBA across 3 campuses and a DBA program, and we also offer executive education programs. But what I want to talk today is our international certificate in impact entrepreneurship that we've developed with a university in Italy. Now, we've heard this morning that it's important to empower South Africa's next generation of entrepreneurs. An international renewable energy IRENA analysis shows that we're going to have achieved 90%, Southern Africa will achieve 90% share of renewables in total primary energy by 2050. To achieve this, we desperately need new entrepreneurs in the sector. And it is in this area which we think we can play a crucial role with the provision of technical skills, financial skills, and business skills. Our international, and therefore we've developed an international certificate in impact entrepreneurship with the Altus Business School of the Catholic University of Milan. This project started actually many years ago as part of a foundation based on negotiations between the European Union, the government of Italy, and the African Union. And a program was developed, an MBA in entrepreneurship, as well as an international certificate in entrepreneurship, specifically for entrepreneurs in Africa. The MBA and the international certificate is already implemented successfully in about 8 African countries with huge success. We are the first business school in South Africa that will launch this program. And we will be the only one as well. So the certificate is aimed, and one of the criticisms against traditional business schools in South Africa is that they focus primarily on the corporate sector. So part of our social impact and our social impact strategic focus is to really make a difference for all business people in South Africa and also in Africa. And therefore, this program will play an extremely important role, because as opposed to our traditional MBA programs where people must have a postgraduate qualification, here they can do it with a matric certificate. And because it's aimed really as taking an entrepreneur, an existing entrepreneur, to the next level where that person will employ people, because we have a lot of subsistence entrepreneurs in South Africa. But the big, as our ambassador has pointed out, one of the big goals of government in South Africa is actually to increase employment. And to increase employment, is important that we develop these entrepreneurs. So this international certificate will play an extremely important role. We are launching it on 3 fronts. We're starting now in July with a generic program aimed at township entrepreneurs in South Africa, where we will identify specific people who have started with businesses and to put them through this process to take them to the next level. We're also targeting specific industries, specifically 3 industries. First of all, the agri-industry, because agri-impact is one of our strategic focus areas. We've developed several executive education programs in agribusiness. And here we will target the new commercial farmers in terms of an agri-impact certification. Secondly, we targeted the automotive industry, and we already had negotiations with the Automotive Transformation Fund, where we will hopefully play an important role in terms of the development of black suppliers and entrepreneurs in that industry. And thirdly, then the renewable industry, which we believe, as was pointed out this morning, where a lot of new entrepreneurs and new SMMEs will be needed in that area. Just in shortly, what this international certificate is about, it's a very practical approach. We have a lot of entrepreneurship programs in South Africa and training, and this one is quite unique in the sense that it takes, first of all, existing small entrepreneurs, put them through a process of extensive coaching, business model development, market analysis, financial model development, based on their own, through a coaching and guiding process based on their own businesses. Also ending with a fundraising where they actually will pitch to investors, and we will invite investors, and they will pitch to investors to also find funding for their different projects. So it's a unique program, and it's tailor-made approach focusing on developing participants in business plans. So from our side, I think to this morning, we would like to really encourage companies to get involved in this, especially Italian companies. We have already received in the automotive industry a sponsorship of one of our Italian companies in South Africa for certain candidates. We've also received some sponsorships from in other industries. So it will be it will be good if we can maybe get more sponsorships, if we can people also who refer candidates to us. So more information on this can be found on our website, which is www.tsb for Tshwane School for Business.ac.za. thank you very much. That is from me.
Thank you very much, Professor, and thank you also for the work that is quite important. I would like to give the floor now to Daniel Palm. Daniel is the founder and chief investment officer at Moshesh Partners Fund Management. That is an investment fund manager based in South Africa, focused on investment into renewable energy and sustainable infrastructure, including energy, water, telecoms, and transport. Daniel, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Massimo. Thanks for the Anderson team for arranging this conference and webinar. I think it's very sort of beneficial to kind of link sort of our European counterparts together sort of with parties based in Africa. So bit of sort of background. I'll start the presentation now, but I've had involvement before with Enel and Electronica. With Enel, we actually acted as advisor to the developer who sold Enel their first projects in South Africa, the Palacioville project, the one in round 3. And more recently, we were actually involved with Enel in the risk mitigation round in December, where we backed the 3 BE partners. We provided the commitment into 3 projects into that risk mitigation. Unfortunately, we were unsuccessful, but are looking to sort of partner with Enel kind of going forward. I think with Electronica as well, I think we also kind of have a close relationship. One of the projects that they mentioned up in Oktober, up in northern Namibia, where they're currently constructing it. We, in my previous life, under Evolution, were the majority shareholders in 2 projects, NCF and Tandi, which we took to development and into construction. So yeah, so had a strong relationship with Italian companies and sort of looking forward to kind of fostering that relationship going forward. But maybe let me take you through the Moshesh presentation. So let me just share my screen.
It's a short presentation, is correct? Okay.
Can you see it there? Yeah, so Moshesh Partners, like I mentioned to you, is a majority-owned BEE, Clean Energy and Infrastructure Fund. We were incorporated in last year, where we reached.
Daniel, I'm sorry, you're not sharing anything. I don't know if you want to go on the same, but we cannot see.
Oh, is it not showing?
No. Okay, now it seems it's working. Okay, now it's perfect.
Okay, great. Sorry. So as I mentioned to you, so Moshesh Partners, a majority-owned BE fund. We did the first close in September of last year. We've got an equity target of some 2 billion rand. It's an equity fund with a final close due in March of 2022, sort of next year. So the target returns in the region of sort of 18 to 19, and I'll kind of talk to you sort of how we get there. And as mentioned, we're sort of 51% black owned with a sort of BE level 2, and sort of looking to sort of play across the sort of renewable energy spectrum. So there's sort of 3 buckets that we look at, and I think some of the participants have touched on the investment opportunities. So the fund is South African based. We have an 80% focus on South Africa with a 20% focus outside. So given our experience in Namibia, where we've done sort of 4 projects totaling about sort of 30 megs before, we would look at sort of participating in Namibia, Botswana, Zambia, so sort of the SADC countries sort of around South Africa. So we've sort of focused on 3 areas. One is large-scale renewable energy projects, so mainly kind of within REAP. I think Manuela at Enel spoke a lot about the opportunity there, and I'll sort of walk through where we see that opportunity. Given we're a BE fund, we look to participate mainly on the BE financing. The main focus of our fund is within embedded and distributed generation projects, which this presentation is mainly about, where we see a big opportunity in South Africa. And that's basically private PPAs on the sort of commercial and industrial side, mainly kind of within on the solar side, but we're also seeing a lot of gas opportunities. So we're in discussions with some corporates in South Africa to provide them power off the back of natural gas. So that's any kind of private PPA that we see. And then alternative energy, which we're seeing some really exciting projects within the storage, within the battery, within energy efficiency, and a sort of a smart IoT device I'll tell you about that we're looking to sort of invest in. A bit about myself. I've been in the renewable energy sector since 2011. As I mentioned, we've done about sort of 5 billion rands worth of transactions within South Africa, sort of 300 million euros. Of that, we did the first equity sale. So there was the Intercon Energy, the Lesedi and the Sussex Jasper projects, where we sold it from a local developer to a local pension fund. In addition, we also did the first BE refinancing. So the majority of these deals have kind of been in the secondary space. I think the kind of the one standing out there is a Palacioville one with Enel, which was kind of a primary project. But we've also sort of worked in Namibia. So you can see the Enel and the sort of NCF and Tandi projects, where we the majority equity owner. So we took those projects from development all the way through to financing and all the way through to construction, and sort of partnered with the local pension funds. So we've signed agreement to sell both those projects. So the Greening project was sold to Old Mutual, and the NCF and Tandi project, we've signed an agreement with Old Mutual, and we're in the process of closing out those CPs. So we've got quite an experience across the spectrum. I think let me just take you back to the kind of different investment buckets. So I think I kind of won't harp on this, but I think a lot of people have spoken about the REIT. So to date, there's been about 102 projects implemented, of which obviously Enel is one of the largest participants. That's roughly about 210 billion rand invested. I think the local equity ownership sits around 49%, so they're mainly owned by sort of foreigners, but we're starting to see sort of that reverse and local ownership starting to increase. Future rounds, obviously we know round 5 is coming up in August of this year, with sort of round 6 announced for the end of the year and round 7 for the beginning of next year. I think total megawatts, they're looking in round 5 of about 2,600 megs. So that's 1,400 of wind, so 1,600 of wind and 1,000 of solar PV. Obviously, most recently was the risk mitigation round, which 8 projects were awarded. But that is sort of a combination between solar, wind, gas, battery, and some diesel gensets. Obviously, the expected COD is around 2023. I guess what's really exciting for us, and probably what sort of forms mainly a part of this presentation, is we term the embedded and distributed generation projects. So if you look at the Integrated Resource Plan 2019, the government gazetted sort of 500 megs per year up until 2030. So sort of around about 5,000 megs in total, 5 gigawatts. We think that number is going to be much higher, and you can kind of see it in the current market. So you would have seen in the press last year, Amazon signed a 10 megawatt wheeling project, the first of its kind in South Africa, where essentially it's a project in the Northern Cape, producing power and wheeling it to Amazon down in Cape Town on a private PPA basis. So it's the first wheeling project of its kind. I believe recently from the minister, he came out with a couple of comments that there are a number of other projects in approval process. I mean, one of them is Goldfields, which has a 40 megawatt solar PV project that was awarded a generation license earlier this year. And in addition, you would have seen a request for proposals coming out from Sasol. So Sasol recently awarded 2 times 10 megawatts to private PPAs, and it's just issued a 600 megawatt request for proposals on both solar and wind side. And they're looking to kind of increase that up to 900 megs. So that's just a handful of kind of companies out there, private companies out there within the South African space who are making requests for proposals, looking to kind of private off-takers. So we think that sort of 500 megs is going to sort of ramp up sort of quite quickly. And the reason for that is pretty simple. I think commercial and industrial customers or clients are looking for electricity security. They're looking to take the risk of load shedding, which is quite big at the moment, and looking to kind of secure their energy future. Also, given the kind of decreased tariffs and the sort of decreased EPC costs, I think projects are able to kind of produce power on a private PPA basis much cheaper than what Eskom is. I mean, I think also what's playing into this part is the kind of increase in licensing from 1 megawatt to 10 megawatts. I think sort of as mentioned by the ambassador, private companies are wanting to take that up to 50 megs. But I think sort of a good first step is this 10 meg cap. And I think that's going to really kind of push things forward. Obviously, the city of Cape Town and the city of Johannesburg have come out and asking for requests for proposals for private PPA. So I certainly think there's a huge opportunity in the market for this sort of 500 megs. And we estimate that's about a sort of 5 billion rand capex requirement per year up until sort of 2030.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Thank you very much. I don't know if you have something else to close.
I'll just one last thing.
Yeah.
Just on the project that we're executing at the moment. So we've got 10 projects that we're doing with Mediclinic on a private PPA. So it's our first investment out of the fund. In terms of total megawatts, it's not massive, but it's the first rollout. So this is kind of just an example of the type of projects that are out there and the type of projects that we're looking at doing. And I think there's a massive opportunity within the sector. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Daniel, very much. And okay, we are almost in time. It's great, and it's very strange. You should stop to share the screen if you can, or I will do it for you.
Yeah,
I will do it for you. Easier probably. So thank you very much to Daniel. And I would like to. We have some question. One question for Anna. Okay, they already answered. From Luigi Guerra, but before the question, I would like to involve some of the discussant, and I would like to start just 2-3 minutes each one, because then we have to touch the financing element of all our discussion. I would like to involve 2 companies. One is from South Africa and one is from Zambia. And I'm very curious to hear from them. The first one, if you want to talk, is Pepsi Bayoko from Neon Energy. Pepsi is the CEO at Neon Energy. And just to give us the view on the situation and on the sector. Pepsi, are you with us?
Hi, everyone. Good morning, Massimo. I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pepsi. What have you heard this morning? What do you think? I told that it seems an exciting year for South Africa in this sector, no? But you are one of the local players. So I would like to listen to you and what do you think about that and all the things that we have said this morning?
All right. Good morning, Massimo, and to all the panelists and the ambassadors, and yes, and the listeners who, you know, and the audience as well. Yes, Neon Energy is one of the South African companies, and though we are a producer of photovoltaic thermals, which is known as PVT, so basically, you know, we do not compete in the IPP. However, we do believe that, like the ambassador said earlier, that there are opportunities in the country, and not only in South Africa, but in the continent as a whole. Unfortunately, or fortunately, solar power is sensible in South Africa, since ultimately it is cheaper than Eskom. And although the initial investment is quite expensive and out of reach for most South Africans, so that makes it difficult for the normal people to have solar energy. However, knowing that there are also types of renewable energy, I think it is also where the government has to come in and subsidize, because without subsidization, then it means South Africa will always be indebted to Eskom, and more, unfortunately as well, that South Africa as a whole, most or 70% or the majority of South Africa, we still live in the rural areas. So meaning that there is still energy poverty, there is electrical energy, and there is also thermal energy. I mean, our schools just basically, you know, our schools, they still do not have water, let alone hot water. And such things should not be a luxury. It's a basic human need. So I think that's where governments must really start pulling up their socks and intervene. The other major challenge is funding. We do not have enough funding for small businesses to grow. There are ideas there. We travel the world globally to look for opportunities. We get partners, but we come back home in South Africa, and yet you still lack funding to incorporate and to start to actually take your business forward. So yes, there is a huge demand of electrical energy from solar and all other renewable energy spectrums. However, without government assisting in funding, assisting in opening doors for small businesses, that way we cannot do it. We cannot increase or play a role in the economy.
Thank you very much. Very clear and very interesting. I agree with what you said, and you know that in your country the Eskom is a big problem, but I think government is working on this. So I'm quite optimistic for the future. So let's cross our finger. I would like to involve Moses Banda for Kalahari Geoenergy. This is I'm using this conference for my curiosity, because I didn't know about the geothermal possibility in Zambia. And Moses is director at Kalahari Geoenergy Limited. And I really would like to use these 2 minutes just to have some tip about the geoenergy potential in Zambia. Moses, are you with us? It seems I lost Moses. Moses? Okay, So if we can find him later, I will have to keep with my curiosity about geothermal energy in Zambia. And I don't know if I would like to involve Paolo Munini and Luca Maci of Paolo Munini is from European Investment Bank, and Luca Maci is from Italian Cassa Depositi e Prestiti. Paolo, I would like to start with you if you are here with us.
Hi, I am.
Can I come in now? Can I come in now?
Who is Moses?
Yes, please.
Where have you been?
No, I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm connected.
We are looking for geothermal energy there.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Sorry,
Okay,
Paolo. I go on with Moses, and then I will be back to you. Moses, please help me with this curiosity about the geothermal in Zambia. Tell me something, because I didn't know anything about it.
Okay, thanks to Massimo. I'm a director of Kalahari Geoenergy. We've been conducting our exploration for the past 9 years. We've done all the scientific investigations, and in February this year, we completed the drilling exercise. We are now just waiting for a resource statement from our consulting engineers, Geologica, who are based in the United States. We are expecting a minimum of 5 megawatts, but of course can go up depending on the assessment of the resource by Geologica. We are based in southern province of Zambia, south bank of the Kafue River. We've got 16,000 square kilometers of geological area, and we have 6 targets, and we are fast tracking one of them, which we call Wengwa. And we are now, of course, like I said, waiting for a source statement, which can come in anytime now. In terms of partnership, okay, what we have done in the past is to develop our capacity, geological examination capacity. But going forward, we would like to have possible a partner with experience in power generation using geothermal power. So I think that's the brief that I can say from the project that we have here in Zambia. For the start, we're expecting 5 megawatts of capacity, depending on this assessment of our project by our consulting engineers, geology.
Moses, help me too, because the line is a little bit disturbed. I understand well, you're looking for a partner to development your geothermal activity. These are also investors?
Both. But ideally would prefer a partner with technical expertise in power generation.
Okay, that's great. Yeah. It's very interesting. You are the only company working on this sector in your country?
In Zambia, we are the only ones, and we've been in the field for the past 9 years. We are the only private company.
Great, thank you very much, Moses. And I think is quite interesting also for if there is in the public or in the discussion someone interested, because the interesting part also of the project of Bridge made up by Anders and professionals is to work with you, entering in contact with everybody you saw today here between the public and the panelists. So I think it's a good occasion also on that. Thank you, Moses. Paolo, I'm back to you. Paolo Munini from European Investment Bank. And I know that you're working now on, BEI has always had a big attention on renewable energies, no? And I think you're working on that. What can you say about what we heard this morning? What would you like to say?
Yes, well, thank you very much, first of all, to the organizers for setting up this fundamental and missing piece of connection between continents and operators. There's it is very interesting, and I hope that also in the next days there will be the possibility for operators to link to financial institutions, investors, and between companies, and create, which is, I understand, is the objective, a better understanding, a better connection, and profitable interaction between companies. Very, very short comments I have. The European Investment Bank is a very large institution operating in the public sector, in dealing with banks, operating with SMEs. So basically, we have an instrument for every possible counterpart, be it a small company or a very large one. Some of the companies that presented today are clients of the bank. Others might be through the banking system in the countries where they operate. What I kind of do more these days is to focus on access to energy, which is a very difficult sector because basically profitability is not guaranteed. So there is not a lot. I mean, entrepreneurs must be very, very good and very have a very positive risk attitude to reach over the years successful outcome of their investments, and there need to be suitable incentives from different parts. And one of these parts is the European Union through the European Commission and the European Investment Bank. So in a nutshell, my contribution in replying also to some of the questions that were raised is there are financial institutions that work on energy for large, small, and medium projects. We are willing to take risk. We are giving participations in equity. We are taking subordinated debt for those projects that need extra support. And we can guide counterparts. Some of the projects that I'm following at the moment, as Massimo was quoting, go directly, maybe still in an initial phase, but more connection between the continents and more practical work in the financing is needed, although it's not so easy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paolo. And I don't know if Luca Maci from Cassa Depositi want to intervene also. I know that your group is looking at with a lot of interest. Good morning, Luca. Nice to see you.
Hi, good morning. Yeah, thank you. I joined Paolo in thanking Andersen and also you, Massimo, in organizing this very important webinar. I heard very interesting words this morning, and what I wanted to say, just very briefly, is that, yeah, Massimo, you are right. Cassa Depositi e Prestiti, for those who do not know, is a very large Italian financial institution which has been traditionally focused on providing lending domestically. But since, would say, a couple of years, the law has also given the mandate to CDP to operate in the emerging markets like the other DFIs. So we are now both in the public and in the private sector. So we are now very actively looking at potential opportunities, and the energy sector is one of the preeminent sectors that we are looking to. What is important to say is that we always have to co-finance the projects where we are willing to provide lending. So it's very important for us to partner with other financial institutions that have also a very important presence locally and also a track record which is longer than ours. So We partner with the EIB and with the African Development Bank. We also are in talk with the South African DFI, DBSA. And what I want to say, with particular focus on the South African region, is that we are very interested in this country because there is a very large Italian presence. And so given the fact that we are an Italian public financial institution, we very carefully look at the countries where the Italian presence is large and important. And for sure, South Africa is one of those countries. And also, I would like to mention that the very first deal that we closed for this new activity in CDP has been a deal in the not in the energy sector, but in the manufacturing sector in South Africa. And in that case, we partnership with IFC. So we provided the co-financing together with the IFC for the World Bank Group. So we are open for business. We have appetite to provide financing to energy projects in the country. And I would say that this is all. Thank you, Massimo.
Thank you very much, Luca. I don't want to, if there is any of the discussants that want to intervene, just please write in the chat and I will give the floor to you. I have a question. I don't know if he can answer me, but for Giovanni Castino, that is one of the vice presidents of Confindustria Africa and the Mediterranean, but is also a public affairs manager at Saipem. As we cited green hydrogen, and your company is Saipem is one of the green hydrogen champion all over the world. I would really have 2 words from you. Would you like to say something? Are you with us?
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity. And first of all, just let me thank you, Studio Anderson, Tax and Legal, member of Confindustria Africa, for the invitation, and of course, Africa and Affari Magazine for this great moderation. Just say a few words about Africa, and then I will jump into your question. Africa is part of the Confindustria network. We are an association that has as a mission the idea of connecting the Italian business community and the African and Middle East business community. We're doing this working side by side by our diplomatic representative and the diplomatic representative of foreign countries in Italy. It's a pleasure to have with us the ambassadors that had intervened before, and we carried on in the past successful event with them and an initiative. And I want to say once more that Africa is at the disposal of all the business community interested in enhancing the business in those areas. Jumping to your question, green hydrogen is a fundamental asset that it's gonna be part of the future of the energy mix. There is one thing that in Saipem and in our experience in Africa, but all over the world, we strongly believe as a key asset is that basically there's no magic recipe for to reach a sustainable and inclusive energy future. We have to be able to tie together several technologies, and through this, let's say this task, ensure to have an accessible and sustainable energy mix. Because without accessibility, we won't be able to talk about sustainability. Green hydrogen, it's a huge opportunity for all of us. In Europe, we perceive this as a clear also political message from the European community. In Italy, with Saipem and other companies, we are trying to do, let's say, a team job to do 2 things, basically. The first one is decrease the carbon footage of high emittance industries, and green hydrogen is an important opportunity on this. And the second one is to produce new value, let's say new energy. And this is, of course, has to be coupled with renewables, offshore renewables, floating PV. So let's say there's several technologies involved. Africa is a wonderful place to work in this. You mentioned before initiative in Morocco, in Tunisia about green hydrogen, but there is several initiatives also in the south part of the continent. And for us, it's not the future. For us, it's the present. Saipem is also active in the natural gas field. We had closed our biggest contract in the history of the company in Mozambique a couple of years ago. So for us, Africa is a priority. And as a South Africa, of course, we are at your side and to enhance those, let's say, ties. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Giovanni. And let me please, before closing, thanking also some of the discussants that helped also us in preparing this conference. The first is for Maria Grazia Biancospino, that is the CEO of El Investment. Let me thank also the Italian South African Chamber of Commerce, Frank Cinque of E4 Impact Foundation, and Fabrizio Zago of Net Power, that is the former CEO at Building Energy in South Africa, Terje Osmundsen of Empower New Energy, but also Mariana Petrosillo and Antonio Passera of Rest for Africa Foundation that is doing a great job. I've been studying their report for understanding renewable in this area, and are really very well done. As I told to Engineer Vigotti, that is the father of Rest for Africa Foundation. I really would like to close perfectly on time, 25 after 12, and that's great. Close thanking again Andersen for building this bridge. You have seen, you have met, crossing this bridge, you have met some of the people that you can find on this bridge. There's Moses, Giovanni, Paolo, and all the people, Luigi Guerra. I really think that what came out from this morning is that is a bridge crowded of good people. You know, you have Italian companies, big, small, and medium. You have local companies. You have institutions that are present. You have professionals that can help. So that's what a bridge should do. So I really invite all of you to use this bridge. And as I told at the beginning, all the participants, if you didn't sign up for the B2B meetings before, but you want to get in touch with any one of the person that participated in this conference, just write an email to Kesha or Alessandro Moretti from Andersen, or to anyone of Andersen in Africa or in Europe, because all the offices were involved in this, as Olaleye, that is connected with us from Nigeria, demonstrate. So you can write to everybody, any one of them, and enter in contact with people that you saw and you listened today. I would like to thank all of you again and all the speakers for have helped me closing in time. Alessandro, Kesha, I would like you to close and not me. Please, one of you. Kesha is better, Alessandro.
Okay, well, thanks, Massimo. Thank you all so much for your participation and for your efforts with your presentations from all businesses. It was wonderful. I think there's a lot to do, and between myself and Alessandro, and of course anyone in Andersen, like Massimo said, we would be so pleased to be able to facilitate introductions. If there's anyone, if you haven't signed up for the B2B meetings, get in contact with us, and we'll make sure that we put you in contact with other businesses, and let's use these opportunities and create great things in the various countries. So thank you very much.
Okay, Alessandro, you can say hello. but you have to open the mic. Okay.
Sorry, my mic was off. Yeah, thank you, Keisha, very much. Thank you, Massimo. Thank you all. And yeah, the aim is that we use this conference, as you remember, to work, to look ahead. We have great journeys to do together. And yeah, let's start and go on. Thanks all.
Okay, thank you again to all. I will close this session. Let's meet in another one. Bye-bye. Have a nice day to all of you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Thank you very much and have a lovely day.
You too.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Non ha detto